We will continue with the panel, and I invite back on stage both of our previous speakers. And now I think it's also the time for the audience to shine, so you can shoot all your questions, which I'm sure you have. But I will just, until you think, I will fire off maybe a first couple of questions to you all. I was listening to Marek and Edgars, your presentations, and also Raido's presentation in the morning, and it kind of felt to me, I'm not in the digital twins business at all, but it kind of felt to me that we are sort of hand building something like the internet, where we make this grand plan of how we will include trees and maybe these chairs and the city and the traffic and the people and the houses and the pipes, and we will make public procurement and we'll pay millions to some companies to digitize these things, and in the end we will have something like an internet of things and trees and people, and then I started thinking if it's possible at all to plan this grand, great digital twin and say this is how it's going to be and this is how it will look like, and now we will build it. It seems to me like more like a 100-year project to take very slowly. But how do you view it? Maybe start with you guys.
I think it's almost impossible to plan in that grand scheme about like how it will look, especially with the technology that goes exponentially, like grows very, very fast. It's just so many possibilities to see and maybe detour later. Okay, here is another opportunity to how we manage or how we get the data. Or, well, at some point maybe let's just ditch some data. For example, if you have point clouds, now we are collecting that for just like having them and maybe doing something. But at some point we could get only semantic recognition process, which means that from the shape of point clouds we derive exact form. Is it a stair or is it a chair, floor, ceiling, and so on. So at some point those point clouds will be obsolete for us. And that will also have some impact how we see and how we take a look at the whole digital twin. So I guess like you can plan some steps ahead and have a pretty good overview, but not to exact pinpoint.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, you have to sort of think about digital twins as tools, because essentially that's what they are. So you have to have purpose for them, and you have to, just like anything in IT or anything else, you have to build them slowly and iteratively, and at each stage evaluate if this purpose is still there. Because otherwise, we can go in a lot of problems, sort of. So, as we speak about all of this, I think digital twins have become sort of a marketing term, but I really hope that data analytics comes in and tackles this.
You're looking very much on the data side,
Yeah. That's perhaps my bias. I'm very much on the data analytics side, and my belief is that digital twins are sort of an extension of data analytics tools. So they're just a tool that you build on top of each other, and then you get to this stage.
But what would be the correct way, maybe even the correct term? We have been talking this morning about the digital twin of Singapore, the digital twin of Riga or Tallinn. So that's like a big thing, right? Should we instead be talking about the digital twin of this conference room? This is, we can handle this, put up a few sensors, a little bit of automatics, and boom, we have a digital twin. Should we be talking about a lot of very small digital twins instead of a digital twin of Tallinn?
Yeah, exactly. I think, and I really liked your, you had a slide in your presentation where it was a lot of smaller digital twins, and then there was this digital twin system, right? So I think this is what it's going to be, right? It's going to be several digital twins, or how I like to call them, data solutions, or data tools, right? And they're going to be, some of them are going to be standalone. They're not going to be interacting with anything else, and some of them will interact with each other. And they're going to be probably built for different purposes, different departments, and some might be exciting and have 3D visuals, and some might be just some hidden algorithms working in some hidden place that you probably won't even see. So.
Okay, Laura, Abdelrahman, how do you think about this?
Like you already mentioned, I don't see the digital twin concept as there is one giga big twin. It's rather you have those different layers with different data inputs, which can be connected and which then can be developed to have a simulation or predictive tool. But it's not all at once happening. It's like rather layers. And I also try to keep in mind, is it really necessary to digitize everything? I think there are different questions who need different answers. So when it comes to a perfect traffic flow to make cities greener, more sustainable, more healthy, and you can automate some questions of this and you need the data, all fine. But just to create some kind of development of cities where the citizens, for example, are totally left out, this would be the wrong answer to the question for me, what a digital twin should be. And for me, like I already said in the presentation, the focus is a lot on this automatization, on this problem solving with data analytics, which I'm super admiring, and I'm always super fascinated what is possible. But often when we talk with citizens and other stakeholders, they feel a little bit left behind, left out. They don't understand what's going on. And still it's their cities. They want to know what those programs are doing. And also when we look at it from a cybersecurity or also surveillance aspect, especially in Germany, I'm German, there is this context of what are the cities or the government is possible to do with this data. So for me, it's really important to keep the side of transparency as well. Yes. And also what we did not, or what I didn't hear talking about is the question of who owns those digital twins. Is it the public who owns it, or are those private companies who are owning digital twins? So who is at the end influencing what is happening in cities? Especially when we talk about data property, about software solutions, I would opt as always as possible for open source solutions or collaborations, but to keep the code open and also to work together with different cities, like what we did now with Tallinn and Helsinki, to develop solutions together, which then can be used by other cities as well. So it's not every city buys the components of one big company and the company gets richer, but rather the different cities collaborate, invest, of course, all the money in the data analysis, prediction models, and so on, but then it can be shared and it can be very individually developed, and it's not one solution who should fit to so many different, very individual cities.
So the dream would be that, I don't know, Tallinn, Helsinki, Stockholm, Hamburg will put money together and create an open source, whatever, framework
This
thing.
is what actually is happening in Germany with the Connected Urban Twins project. So the cities of Hamburg, Leipzig, and Munich are getting public money within the MPSC framework, and they're developing open source systems which could be also, for example, used by Tallinn or Helsinki, but there, of course, the big challenge is that the existing systems of the data management, resources, and so on, yes, to bring them to those systems, and this is already causing quite a lot of challenges and problems within the 3 different German cities, so not even talking about international.
Yeah, so we need the data, people. We can't get rid of you. Abdelrahman, what's your view?
Yeah, I mean, I won't add much. Honestly, it's gonna be short. But like said earlier, it's kind of multiple stages, and see that, like you said, we're going to reach this kind of full digital twin model. There's like, yeah, that's the ideal kind of scenario or model that everyone should follow. Because it's not that you're just simulating, you know, buildings and I don't know, some bridges or whatever. You need to. There are a lot of things that are very hard to simulate, like human interaction and behavior. And you mentioned, for example, one scenario. What if it happens that we have 5 years of, you know, very cold winter, or the opposite? Those things are. I don't think we'll reach like a point where you are able to simulate them. But yeah, it's gonna be like mentioned, multiple small projects or like multiple small digital twins, and then I think the most important thing, or just to be a bit optimistic, is to have practical use out of each stage we're reaching, yes, or out of each data input we have, because like you mentioned earlier in your presentation, is that it's very good to stop when there's no use. So it's good. It's very good to stop when, like, it's very good to know when to stop. So just to be optimistic again, it's good to know the use of every stage we are approaching, because I don't think it's good that we just wait until we finish the project and then there will be results upcoming. We will not finish it because
yes, we spent 10 million and got something.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah. So now I turn to you. Yes, question in the middle here.
Hi, Veiko Toome, City of Espoo. I have two kind of questions or ideas. We know that the data is growing any second, and maybe it's a kind of big chunk that we want to digest at one time. Maybe we have to develop more like machine learning programs or AI to develop this kind of digital things or twins, maybe, I don't know, the idea. And the second question is, when we are reached our ultimate goal to be there in the digital twin, where is the human in there?
Okay, so first, maybe we should let AI do all the work for us. Ideas, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
I think like we are far away from this, especially in construction industry, when you just like cannot abandon all workers or all maintenance people, teams, groups, also during the operation. So I think the interaction between physical twin and digital twin will be still happening through people, with a lot of cases that you cannot just have, I don't know, say, oh yeah, I want to send this crew, or this, I want to cast some concrete, or I want to just like exchange all light bulbs. Maybe if they're just like in factory and you have those robots just like to navigate like in Amazon warehouse, maybe, but like we don't live in warehouses and around warehouses, so it's not that easy to just like ditch all human input or human interfere and just have this digital twin and physical twin without our aspect.
Anyone else want to comment? AI? No?
It's also the question, like, where do we get? Of course, data is growing, but the question is, how good is the data? What's the quality? How is it collected? What are the formats and so on? But especially the aspect not of quantity, but quality. So if we feed, it was already mentioned earlier, if we feed garbage in, garbage out, you said, so of course we have a lot of data, but is the data really representing enough and detailed enough and with a high enough quality to use it for the simulations? And also there are so many tiny bits of parameters who are influencing then the data analysis, the predictions and so on. And if we might forget one small parameter at a point, the output still might be totally wrong or not usable for long-lasting decision making.
Okay, and the second question, if I remember correctly, was about the place of a human being in all of this digitalness. What, am I right? More, yeah, so when we reach the thing where you said we won't reach, then where is the human in there?
In Avalon City Hub.
I think unless that's fully sentient AI, which we don't have yet, I think there's going to be human always in the loop. At least you should have. From personal experience, we have developed AI tools, and things change. You know, COVID happens, then suddenly your AI model is costing you millions of euros per week. You know, because it's wrong now. So I think it's important to always have a human in the loop somewhere, or at least have this expertise that can monitor it and see when, you know, it's starting to spew out bad things. Because at the end of the day, it is the data, which is, I think, the most important thing. And in my experience, data tends to change a lot, and you have to. There's always going to be some new surprises there, and so yeah.
For me, just if I can comment one more, it also feels a little bit like underestimating humanity. I mean, if we look at history, first industrial, second, third, fourth industrial revolution, now we're like the fourth or fifth, depending on the definition. But humans always found new problems to solve, always found new approaches, like societies evoluted. And so I think also now with AI, we need to be more creative, maybe. We need to adapt, of course. But I don't think humans will be obsolete in all those scenarios.
Okay, we have a question here in the front, and also here. Okay, the microphone is coming your way, so let's start from there and then move on.
Hello. Quick question. What do you think is the best way to automatically create buildings when it comes to digital twins with textures? Like, we saw the 3D model of Tallinn, but at least to me, it felt like those houses there were pretty much handcrafted. Now, and the second question, if you open up the Google Earth, and for example, Estonia is flat, yeah, sorry. But if you move over to Finland, for example, that you have 3D model of the whole city, and looking at it, at least to me, it feels it's fully automatically created. Do you have any idea how Google did it and what technique they used? Thank you.
The first thing comes to my mind is about the photogrammetric mesh. So basically, if they fly drones or like I don't know, lower height helicopters that are taking high detailed photos, and then some cars running around, there are a lot of applications and software that take all those kind of HD pictures and then transfer them into a 3D model. The point here is that it will not have semantic data. It will be just a mesh, like a beautiful shape of the model, depending on the quality of the photos that are taken. But if your question is particularly about how to have a textured model, I think this is the quickest way.
Okay, and the first question was about digital textures, and the second was about Google. So, answers?
I think, yeah. It's,
okay, so you got your answer. 2 in 1. All right, question here in the front. And then we have question in the very back.
Do digital twins make decision makers smart? If yes, how much smart?
And in what units? Seconds or percent? So, do digital twins make decision makers smarter, and exactly how much?
What's your definition of smart?
Yes.
Can of worms, you open.
Marek, you had a comment.
I think in terms of like what, if it comes to what new insights decision makers can have and what new information can gather, I think they do. There was a case in Denmark. They mentioned they measured one of the bridge and its capacity, and it turned out that the capacity is just several times higher than what they designed and what they thought. So you have the safety margin, and they put on top some safety margin, and it was designed as it is. And just with the process of the construction, they put the exact materials they designed, but it turned out to be even higher capacity than it was. So that means we can get, if we build that digital twin around that bridge, that means decision makers, which are planners, which are also engineers, architects, they can have a pretty good overview. Okay, we don't need that much of material, we don't need that much of overhead, because, well, it will happen again, and it's just like waste of money, waste of resources. So I guess if we, and what happened was that we got the input to the bridge, which is, and our knowledge about that, and our failures, which are created over the past centuries and now past decades about how we build structures. With those inputs, we got also readings. Okay, here is not that thing that you predicted. So we are just like now wiser, 1 unit more.
So yes, the measurement was unit. Very good. Question in the very back, please.
Hello. The vision of Tallinn is that digital twin should be an open platform where the companies could also offer their services. The questions regarding to this aspect is, so how far are all of your cities regarding engaging companies so that they could offer services on your city's digital twin platform? And the second question is, do you know already what pieces of information should your digital twins possess so that it would be really interesting to the companies? So where to start when you pilot something for the companies? Thank you.
So who wants to answer?
I think the question is about other cities than Tallinn.
I think this is, once again, this is a question where we have to define what digital twin is, right? Because we do want to make them open source, I think in Riga especially, but it depends on use cases. We might have a boring use case like a smart thermostat digital twin, which, you know, we might not see a lot of value to private sector, or there could be. So, yeah. I don't know if it answers the question. I think it really depends on the digital twin that you have in mind.
But if we open it all and then say to the private sector, you know, here is everything, see if you find something that's useful or interesting for you.
Yeah, I think that then touches the next question, I think, which overwhelms all of this, which is data governance and data spaces. How do you actually engage various stakeholders like private citizens or universities or private sector in this whole thing? Because especially in Riga, for example, we hear a lot from academics or private sector that, you know, opening data is not enough. You have to also go a step further and actually work together. So you have to resolve various issues like privacy or security, or how do you even structure these deals in a contractual way, like who benefits who. And so, for example, we have a PhD student who wants to study welfare payments and their effectiveness, and that's very sensitive data. It's data about disabilities and that kind of stuff, but it's not enough for us to give him a random Excel data set and say him, okay, good luck, have fun, right? We have to like guide him. We have to work together on this study, essentially. So.
At the same time, we actually do have these examples of public, you know, data being used by private companies. Let's take transport. You know, I have a bunch of apps on my phone. If I want to ask how to get from here to the airport, you know, that's, at least in Tallinn and in many other cities, that's public data, and private companies have created applications on top of it. So, I mean, I could even imagine if, let's take, I don't know, Tallinn's school buildings, for example, and if all the thermostats are, you know, open data or API'd, then maybe if I'm an energy company making an offer, I can, you know, see, oh yeah, they use a lot more energy when I have a surplus. You know, there might be a lot of these small little things, but they are probably difficult to find. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking for some example of digital twin either in like around Copenhagen or in Warsaw, and aside from just like traffic, which is very helpful to have. And Warsaw has this reporting system when you just like, of course it's another app and it's rated I think like 2.0 on Play Store, like any government application. And what they have if you see some issue, let's say a damaged bus stop or anything like that, or trash around, or just any issue you can have as a citizen, you can report that and have in the system. And I think it's like one of the layer you could have as digital twin, because, well, you could use it separately. Okay, here's this thing happening often. For example, it's damaged a lot, or maybe let's make bus stop concrete, I don't know. Yeah. But aside from that, you have map and you can get a picture. So you already allow citizens to maybe just influence or help municipality to take care of the city.
Just regarding Tallinn, I think Andres would be the perfect person to maybe ask during the lunch break how Tallinn is approaching private companies for the usage of digital twins, because it's of course also a topic discussed here as well as in Helsinki. What I think is quite important to also discuss in this context is how do we finance the digital twins. And I'm totally open source direction, but the question is how do we co-finance it, because like everyone is paying for it with its taxes, but not everyone is maybe using it to a certain extent. And if we're then offering those services, those models, data and so on, well structured with analytics and all this huge amount of work behind for free to companies, and they're using it, then the question is how can we establish good co-working situations or collaboration processes between the public and the private. For example, we have been developing those trees now, and it could be interesting, for example, for a solar radiation, a solar panel production company to say, okay, you have trees in your garden, let's see how in 10 years those trees will shade the roof. And then they will use the public data and eventually also the algorithms. And then one example would be that they pay a certain percentage of their gain back to the city. And so the development for the city could be, or for the fitness center, for example, where I'm working, could be on the long term established, and still the data stays open source, and also the algorithms and everything which is handcrafted or very individually formed could be further financed. But those are very specific cases, or very questions which need to be discussed in detail and really case specific. There's not one solution fits it all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for a few more questions. Question here in the front.
Yeah, thank you all for your presentations. Edgars, as I did warn you, I have a provocative question maybe. Are you ready? Yeah. I found it really interesting that your financial background is actually quite nicely mixed in your ideas there, and I haven't met that kind of perspective before. Mostly I'm speaking about the slide where you had the cost and benefit graphs, right? And they have met that one point. And we are speaking about a lot here about use cases, business processes, and technology, where they meet. And which one comes first. Now, basically, the graph is quite. It's a great graph. It's a simple, understandable. It's a demand and supply in financial theory, I believe. Yeah. So, how do you feel? Could you expand a little bit or extend a little bit on that, where this business process or use case and technology meet, and which one has to be like priority, the first priority there?
I think it depends. And the main point of, I think, showing this graph and the whole digital twin development roadmap was to tell you that, in my opinion, that's a step-by-step process. That it's an iterative, agile process that you're slowly developing. If you're familiar with agile development practices, that's essentially what I'm trying to say. Is that we cannot take and go from 0 to 100 from Excel and nothing to a digital twin just like that. We have to, traverse all these steps in between. And in some cases, you might realize that your business stakeholders, they're not ready for it. And in some cases, you realize that actually your technical side is not ready. And so you have to, at that point, I think you have to stop and you have to improve that level and only then continue. And this is what I sort of meant with the maturity level, which is that you have to build it in upwards, and you don't have to. I think it would be reasonable to do it quickly and invest a lot of money, and then turns out it doesn't have any value. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about taxpayer money, so we have to. We are not only being responsible to our managers or the mayor, we're also responsible to the citizens. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you for the answer. Thank you for all the questions.